Welcome, everybody. This is Nanette Kennedy from Humanities Team and the Evolution Revolution. And we are reading The Only Thing That Matters by Neale Walsch. We're going to begin on chapter 31, and Linda will get us situated there in a second. It is October 10th, 2021, and we are going to get started here in just a second. Need to give a little bit of a plug for the Humanities Team Spiritual or Global Oneness Summit. And it's beginning on the 16th. And I've mentioned before, I think, that I've had the privilege to proof all the recordings so that if there's something wrong or the sound goes weird, I mark it and an editor goes in and corrects that. And I am really very, very excited because 99% of there's got to be at least 20 different videos speaking about everything from Earth, the planet, what we need to be doing to help save it, talking about the science and spirituality. There's presentations done on things that we can do and that we obviously need to do to save our planet. And all of them are very uplifting. And I was glued to every single one that I watched, except for one, and I shall not name it. If you watch it, you'll know it. Anyway, I'm very excited about it, and I would really love for everybody in our group to plan to watch it. And it lasts for 8 days, so it's not watching 30 or 20 videos in this one sitting. But I think you'll be very impressed, and the quality, everything is just very substantially awesome. Okay, well, that is enough of my little commercial. Linda, would you like to get us started?
Sure. So we're reading The Only Thing That Matters, which is Conversations with Humanity, Book 2. And we're on chapter 31, The Biggest Choice You Will Ever Make. And that's on page 150, and that puts us about 66% of the way through the book. Your idea of the self and of your reason for being on the earth breaks down ultimately to two simple choices. These are succinctly described in the book referenced earlier, The Storm Before the Calm, which is the book 1 of this series, which laid it out this way. Choice number 1. You could conceive of yourself as a chemical creature or a logical biological incident. That is, the logical outcome of a biological process engaged in by two other biological processes called mother and father. If you see yourself as a chemical creature, you would see yourself as having no more connection to the larger process of life than any other chemical or biological life form. Like all the others, you would be impacted by life, but could have very little impact on life. You certainly couldn't create events except in the most remote, indirect sense. You could create more life. All chemical creatures carry the biological capacity to recreate more of themselves. But you could not create what life does or how it shows up in any given moment. Further, as a chemical creature, you would understand yourself to have a very limited ability to create an intended response to the events and conditions of life. You would see yourself as a creature of habit and instinct, with only those resources that your fundamental biology provides you. You would see yourself as having more resources than a turtle because your biology gifted you with more. You would see yourself as having more resources than a butterfly because your biology has gifted you with more. You would see yourself as having more resources than an ape or a dolphin, but in those cases, perhaps not all that many more, because your biology has gifted you with more. Yet that is all you would see yourself as having in terms of resources. You would see yourself as having to deal with life day by day, pretty much as it comes, with perhaps a tiny bit of what seems like control based on advanced planning, etc. But you would know that at any minute, anything could go wrong, and often would. Choice number 2. You could conceive of yourself as a spiritual being inhabiting a biological mass that is called a physical body. If you saw yourself as a spiritual being, you would see yourself as having powers and abilities far beyond those of a simple chemical creature, powers that transcend basic physicality and its laws. You would understand that these powers and abilities give you some collaborative control over the exterior elements of your individual and collective lives, and complete individual control over the interior elements, which means that you have total ability to create your own reality, because your reality has nothing to do with producing the exterior elements of your lives, and everything to do with how you respond to the elements that have been produced. Also, as a spiritual being, you would know that you are here, on earth that is, for a spiritual reason. This is a highly focused purpose and has nothing to do directly with your occupation or career, your income or possessions, or achievements or place in society, or any of the external conditions or circumstances of your life. You would know that your purpose has to do with your interior life, and that how well you do in achieving your purpose may very often have an effect on your exterior life. The presumption at this stage is that you have already selected choice 2. It is highly unlikely that you would have read this far if you had not. Yet merely making this choice is not enough. Some human beings make this choice consciously, seeing and embracing themselves as spiritual beings. But then they don't really believe that they are, or are not sure. Some human beings make this decision consciously and are sure about it, but then don't know how to implement it in their lives. Some human beings make this decision consciously, are sure about it, and know how to implement it in their lives, but don't do so. Some human beings make this decision consciously, are sure about it, know how to implement it in their lives, and do so, but then don't, and then do again, and then don't again. So they experience their spiritual identity as an on-again, off-again thing. It is for all these reasons that the world is the way it is today. The challenge, if you are to find peace and end the struggle and suffering in your life, is to embrace your identity as a spiritual being, and then implement that choice consistently. As has been stated here many times, most people don't know what that looks like. We are about to show you more of that and how you can bring that more fully into your life using some marvelous tools. You've already remembered gratitude. Now let's look at some other tools as well. End of chapter.
Thank you. Trying to get my face in the picture. You know, one thing that struck me early on in this chapter was if I can find it. You know, it's the part that says you would see yourself as having more resources than a turtle because your biology has gifted you with more. You would see yourself as having more resources than a butterfly because your biology has gifted you with more. And what I want to say about that is to the butterfly, to the turtle, I don't know if we can say what they think of what they've been gifted with, or if they can think in that manner. But just recently, I've seen 2 different videos with turtles doing remarkable things. One is of a turtle that's about this big, and it's playing with a little dachshund dog. And they are playing ball together. And they literally pass this ball back and forth, back and forth. And it brought such tenderness to my heart. And then the other one was where there were 2 tortoises. One was very large. The other one looked like it could have been the child of the larger one. The larger one somehow or another got flipped on its side. And the larger one was struggling to get, you know, back on all 4 legs. And this smaller tortoise walked around this turtle, like sizing it up, like, what can I do to help? And this smaller turtle got behind this large tortoise, or smaller tortoise. And he tucked his head inside of his shell and kind of took 2 fast steps and just budged and budged and budged, and he flipped the turtle over. And that's what I have to say. I'm sorry, but it just came to me. Mirko, you have your hand up.
My observation today on this chapter is influenced by a thing that Neale said some days ago in his program. And so because he is also the author of this book, I think is very related to this decision that we can make. Not only one moment, but every moment in our life, in my opinion. And my observation is that in this program that he has, a woman was very in struggle, very struggle because she lost her job and was asking him a suggestion how to handle this situation, like many persons, I think, in these days. And Neale asked her, what's the worst that could happen. So I think that because in the chapter, at some point, has been said that the reason of our life, if you choose to be a spiritual being, it has nothing to do with directly with your occupation, career, possession, achievements, etc. I like very much this affirmation because I live from this state personally. But the consideration of all this, my intervention is a question for you. What if we, as Neale suggests, we don't fear death because we choose to be spiritual being and not only chemical creatures? I think that many limitations that we are living today are illusions because we think that we are chemical creature and that when we die, it's all finished. And so we live from this state, many of us, the majority of us. And if we, with this program, with the Oneness Day, I think Oneness Day is the name of the program, if we not only see ourselves as one, but as a spiritual being in this one, and we don't fear death, I have finished. We can agree with Neale when he suggests to this woman that when we don't fear death, we don't fear life. This is my my understanding and my question to you.
Well, I'm gonna
thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna call on Romy. I don't know if she wants to attempt to answer that, but Romy, go ahead.
No, but I have some other what you said, Nanette, about the turtle. When we went through this passage, I thought about the animals and their whatever. Is it not our, I just feel that it's our limited knowledge about animals now and today. And I think there is so much behind science even doesn't know. And so we always go on and say, animals are this and this and this, but we are not inside this animals. So we are not, I mean, if I have got the chance to live a life of a turtle for, I don't know, I mean, then I can say something about how it feels and how it's to be a turtle. Otherwise, it's just what science will tell us, what we get to know through our lives, but it's not really, I think it's difficult to say that. I mean, I don't agree to this passage with Neale. That's and then one thing came also across about our being or beingness also. I lately had watched a snippet of the advert from his new book. And then I just came across where he said they made a research and they found out that about 80% of the people believe in God or something higher than them. I think I really was impressed by this 80% of the people worldwide. I don't know, I didn't go into whatever statistics, and so I took it just like it came. And then they talked about, and that we have on this planet about 4,800 different religions. I think only these two numbers, it just came in when I did listen to this chapter. I'm over.
Thank you, Romy. And Mary, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I do. So I want to agree with what Romy said, because when I read that chapter, my thought was, that's a very human way of looking at it. We think what we have is more or better than what other animals have. And then what trees, I mean, you know, they have done research now, and trees have like these whole networks of their roots where they're supporting all the other trees in the forest. It's like, to me, that passage is more about human limitation of perception than anything to do with what actually exists here on the physical plane. My second thing, as far as what Mirko was asking, I mean, yes, absolutely. The people who think that we're just chemical, I mean, a lot of the problem is that, the problem of perception. It's the same thing, what the difference between a chemical or a spiritual being, but it's also a problem of perception, because we think that humans, because we have the gift of language in this way or whatever, I mean, we have different kind of consciousness than other things, and that doesn't mean it's better. That's the thing, is different. Like, we think that we are superior when really we're all just different. And it also makes me think a lot about, this is kind of outside of the scope of the chapter, but related to this line of inquiry, the search for intelligent life in the universe, which I think is totally limited by our definition of what that has to look like. We think that has to look like life as we understand it. And, you know, can we even comprehend the concept that there could be intelligent life that is completely unrecognizable to us? I mean, there could be life forms that aren't carbon-based life forms like us, I think, because they're just a completely different kind of life form that we can't imagine because it's so different from what we know. That right there, I think, is what's a limitation for most people. You know, we're limited by our own blinders and things. And now I see Linda's hand up, so I want to hear what she has to
So
say.
Linda, what's up?
So I agree with this conversation. Very, very limited thinking, I think, about other creatures. And I think it's like a natural part of being a human being, but it's so limiting. The thing that I wanted to talk about is in the very last section of this chapter, he says the challenge, if you were to find peace and end the struggle of suffering your life, is to embrace your identity as a spiritual being and then implement that choice consistently. But the thing that struck me is, if you were to find peace, and one of the lessons that I learned a while ago is, if you want peace, you have to be peace. Right? And for the most part, we're not. We get upset when things happen. We yell when something falls on the floor. We stomp our foot. There's all kinds of ways that we express our resistance to whatever is happening in the moment. But if we want peace, that is the most popular answer. If you poll a room, if you could have anything in the world, what would you want? The answer is predominantly peace. That's what we as a species would like. We would like to live in peace. And yet we are not peaceful ourselves in our own daily habits and lives. And so it really is a matter of becoming peaceful, accepting, allowing for whatever is showing up in the moment, regardless of what it is. It could be a tragedy. But until we individually find a way to stay in peace in the midst of that tragedy or whatever it might be, then we're still chasing our tails. Over.
I think you made excellent points there.
Hi.
Bima.
I could share, yeah. I have felt this. I have never felt that I am this body. I've always, since I was a child, felt that there is something bigger. I felt one with the forest and the stars, and my whole journey in life has been. So that's why I have been very peaceful, even if there have been challenges in life. I don't get angry or argument, and I don't say that, oh, everyone is thinking this way. No, I can see that we are cosmic beings, or we are part of the cosmos, and we are united in the source. We cannot deny that. How could I? This body wouldn't exist without the whole cosmos. And of course, human beings, of course, human bodies and beings can do other things than animals can do. But they also sometimes are very more dangerous than animals and trees and so on. So we are different, but I think it's very important to connect very deeply. Actually, I was holding a course yesterday for 8 hours. There were 25 people coming, and very many young ones and young men, and about the spiritual wakening up and about the Kundalini experience and so on. And it was so appreciated. It was incredible to do that, to share my inner journey. I haven't done it for some years now, but it was so wonderful. And I think that we acknowledge our inner connection. If we do that in our daily life, then we will contribute to this change, which is absolutely necessary, which all these books are about. And that's why I am here, because I want to meet others who are on the same journey.
Okay. And we're glad you are.
Thank you. I'm not always at home that time, but I'll try to be with you. So thank you.
You're pretty present. Ariana, did you want to add something? You're on mute.
Yes, thank you. I usually speak about my experience. Well, I also think that the peace is very important, but what happens to me, that I have sometimes unusual exterior situation of not peace. And then I'm thinking, do I create this from some unhealed place in me, or why in the life happens this situation which are not peaceful? I'm thinking about it, why this happens. Yes, of course, peace is more important. Peace is answer, love is answer. Yes, over.
Thank you. I was just going to ask Kirsty if she wanted to say something, or Christy, but she dropped. I don't know which of your hands came up first, Mary, or I'll just go with Mary first.
I'll be quick.
Okay.
I just wanted to say back to what Linda said before, and it relates to what Ariana said. I think the distinction that comes in really handy at this point is remembering the difference between the physical housing and the spiritual being, because a lot of the unpeace that happens is because the physical housing is activated. So like with something falls on my foot and it hurts and I curse a little bit, but then I have a moment and I can, I do laughter yoga, so I laugh and it makes me feel better. So like the can falling on my foot disrupted my peace for a moment, but then I cursed and I laughed and it was all okay. So I think that the external stimuli can cause a reaction in the physical housing. And if we understand that, it makes it much easier to get back to the spiritual, peaceful place of, okay, the can showed up in my consciousness falling on my foot because it was reminding me I need to put those groceries away instead of leaving them on the counter. And, I accept what's happening as the unfoldment of life. Maybe I'm supposed to be more aware and more careful too as I move through my day and not gesture as big. But like, you know, the point is to come back to consciousness. You know, I don't think that most of us are going to be like a yogi in a cave somewhere being 100% in consciousness every moment. I kind of think that life is that process of, you know, I am a spiritual being, and oh, my physical housing is cold, and oh, my physical housing is hungry, and now I need a nap, and now I need to put my sweater on or take my sweater off. But, you know, that's what I think. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mirko.
I think there was Linda before me.
Okay, Linda. Go ahead.
No, my hand never just got down.
Okay.
Oh.
If I can answer to the question of Ariana, why certain things like not be peaceful happens. I think that this book and all the message of Neale state very clearly that we can't experience peace if all around us there is peace. So every opposite of what you want to experience is required from this duality, this reality, physical reality, in order to give you the opportunity, as the book say, to express who you really are. That is the highest version of the grandest vision that you have. So in my personal life, even in these days, this last week, I am facing very, very great challenge, as I said in the last meeting, related to the condemnation that I suffered some years ago. Because when you are in this situation for all of your life, they don't leave you in peace. Is an injustice that I suffered, but I am very peaceful. And thanks to this book, these talks that we have, the program of Neale, I came to a point to understand that, as Neale said many times, without crucifixion, there was no Jesus. And he decided to go to the crucifixion to show, to demonstrate his divinity as compassion. In my personal life, because Ariana talked about peace, when this judge, this woman that is trying to demonstrate the opposite of divinity with these actions that is doing against me and my work, I am very peaceful. I have all the proof. The last time she didn't receive my proof. She said, I don't want to see your proof. This is the justice in Italy. I want to see this time what she will do. I am very curious. And because I am a spiritual being, I think that is an opportunity for me to demonstrate to her what is justice. To see the proof, not to refuse to see my proof. We will see. I am very positive thinking and feeling about this. For example, another, and I have quite finished, another judge that, because I suffer more than 20 trials for this situation, more than 20. For a normal person is impossible. But only one of these was I've lost, so to speak. And the 19th I win. I think that the numbers talk for me. But another judge, for example, that was doing the same thing as this woman, and in the end was proved that he was corrupted for my great pleasure. So, Ariana, I think that if you, I don't know how to help directly in your life because I don't know the situation, but in my experience, when I feel and I am conscious that I am living a difficult situation today, thanks to these books, this particular book, I say this phrase: what does this have to do with the agenda of my soul? And I choose to demonstrate who I really am. That many times is the opposite of what I am facing. And when I really finish, when someone persecutes me, I use the same phrase of Neale and of Jesus: love who persecutes you and bless. So to this judge woman and all the judges of the world and all the bad people of the world, I send my love. And I think that this is who I am. This is my answer, suggestion answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, should we go ahead and read the next chapter? I don't know how long it is.
Let me look. I think we can get through it. None of these chapters tend to be very long.
Except for this one.
Except for this one. No, we'll get through it. I think we can get through it.
Okay.
It's a lot of words, but I think we can get through it.
All right.
Another gift, another tool. A second valuable item for your tool chest is called recontextualization. This is kind of the conversation that we had about the animals, I think. Using this remarkable device, you can dramatically alter the data that gives rise to a truth that forms the thought that produces the emotion that creates your experience of any present moment. The process of recontextualization does just what its name suggests. It creates a new context within which to frame life itself, as well as any event or circumstance within life, virtually eliminating any reason or justification you might have felt in your life to be angry or resentful with or about anyone. This remarkable tool involves a repositioning of your perspective, allowing you to see what is going on at any moment in your life within a new and startlingly different context. Let's back up here and begin at the beginning on this one. It should be clear at this point in your life that what brings you joy, the highest joy, is self-expression. It is through the fullest expression of self that the fullest experience of who you really are is achieved. Now, a person looking at life a certain way might feel that the fullest expression of self is very wonderful if it can be made to happen, but that it doesn't happen very often for many, or that life has more to it than this, and that we must all go on whether we feel fully expressed or not. Recontextualization, on the other hand, tells you that full self-expression is the experience you came for. This creates a not willing to settle for anything less thought in your mind. It reformulates the days and times of your life within the context of your soul's agenda, not your mind's concepts. The soul's agenda always exceeds the mind's concepts. This is not true some of the time. This is true all of the time. What is being said here is that recontextualization dares you, calls you, invites you, empowers you to see your life in a new way, to give it a new, different meaning, to surround it with a different purpose, to place it in an entirely different context. It invites you to place yourself in the center of the wheel of creation and to envision yourself as collaborating with other souls all around you in the producing of conditions and circumstances that are ideal for the completion of your purpose in placing yourself in any present moment. A soul knowing, full expression is the experience you came for. It invites you to place that purpose itself into a new context, the agenda of your soul and the sacred journey upon which your soul has embarked. This is truly seeing your life and its every event in a new way. With recontextualization can come sudden reactualization of the self. And as you become a self-actualized being rather than a reactive being, everything changes in the way you move through the world. Let's look at just one example. After using the tool of recontextualization, you never again work at a job you don't like, and you never again don't like a job at which you are working. That is because your work has become a joy, even if it's the same job you had before. What has happened is that you have reframed your whole idea of what work is about. You have recontextualized it. Before, you thought work was about earning your keep, paying the bills, being responsible, and doing what you have to do to stay alive and take care of those you love. Now you know that it's about making a life rather than a living. It is about you as a spiritual being, not what your business card says. And it is suddenly this that matters. Your work is simply a means to an end. It's a way of your being that your spiritual journey is inviting you to be. It is merely providing you with a context within which to be that, nothing more. What aspect of divinity are you demonstrating to yourself and through yourself when you are taking care of those you love? What aspect are you expressing when you pay bills that you owe and acquire things that you need or desire? What aspect of godliness are you exhibiting when you give to charity or offer financial assistance to someone you know who is in need? What about when you purchase a wonderful gift for a loved one? Look at what you do with your money. This is who you are. You are not your job. Your job simply provides you the means with which to be who you are. Are you generous, giving, caring? Are you fair, honest, trustworthy? Are you protective, empowering, creative? All of these things are aspects of divinity that you give yourself the ability to express freely through the gift that life has given you of what you call work. When you see your job in this way, you will experience it not as something that you have to do. There are many people who choose not to work, but as a part of a larger process by means of which you get to be particular aspects of divinity that you would have freely decided to be. For some, this is a new way of looking at employment, for sure, but that is what recontextualization is all about. Interestingly, you don't even have to have an affinity for what you're doing in any given moment, not just at work, for this tool to be effective. It could indeed be that job you don't particularly like, but it could also be a home chore with which you are bored, a task you would rather not do, a conversation you wish not to have, an evening you had hoped to avoid. It could be anything. Again, it is suddenly not what you are doing that matters. It is the decision you have made about what one desires, and your close look at how you can manifest that through whatever you are doing. This becomes the only thing that matters. This is how you can recontextualize any moment. You simply decide that it exists for a reason entirely different from the reason you had given it before. Magically, that new choice, if it is your highest choice, can impact and affect what you are doing in such a way that the actual doing of it becomes a pleasure and a joy. You can find it joyful to wash dishes when coming from this place. You can find it easy and actually wonderful to go to a job that you once hated to go to when coming from this place. Returning to the motherhood example, this is the place that a mother comes from when she changes and nurses her 2-month-old baby at 3:30 in the morning. Bringing herself out of sound sleep is probably not what she most wants to do in the middle of the night. But she consciously or unconsciously recontextualizes her activity in a way that permeates her thoughts about herself and about what is going on. And this process is so powerful, she finds herself, she actually does want to do what she is doing. Conversations with God tells us that no one does anything they don't want to do. Recontextualization takes you to the heart of the truth. People can think that they don't want to do it by forgetting the reason why it benefits them to do it, then imagining themselves to be the victims of having to do it through a circumstance that they themselves helped to co-create in order to experience the benefit that they now cannot see. Recontextualization places you back into the original space, the space of your soul's first purpose. It replaces original sin with original motivation. This truly is an amazing grace, for once you are blind, you were blind, but now you see. Using recontextualization, you realize that whatever is happening right now is happening in order to provide a context within which you can be and experience the next grandest version of the greatest vision you ever held about who you are. This exceptional tool is another way of focusing on the only thing that matters. Of course, you know now, thanks to the remembering you have done here, that this is not mandatory. This has been said over and over so that you can be very, very clear about that. If you choose to sidestep the expression of divinity, If you choose to sidestep the expression of divinity at its next highest level, finding it more of a challenge than you wish to encounter in this or any particular moment, you may experience the moment in any way that you wish. A soul knowing, no one does anything they don't want to do. So now the question is put to you that all spiritual masters face. Not that you suddenly have to become a spiritual master, but it may serve you to look at it once in a while, a question that they all look at all the time. The question: if it is you choosing in your own mind to have one particular interior experience rather than a different interior experience regarding an outer event in your life, how can you not be content and okay no matter what is experienced? Are you not getting your way? Even if you are experiencing being scared or angry or frustrated or upset, are you not getting your way? Or is it still your continuing belief that you do not choose your emotions and that you have no control over them? You do have control, of course. You select, create, and then act on every emotion you ever have. What you select, when you create it, and how you act on it is solely up to you. No one can make you have any particular emotion. And knowing this, embracing this, results in a path, results in a growth in consciousness arising out of your use of your soul's tools of gratitude and recontextualization. These tools produce a shift of attitude, not of circumstance. Nothing has changed, but everything is different. What has been altered is not exterior, but interior. Now that you are internally clear that you are always at choice regarding your experience of any and every event or circumstance, knowing that your experience is based on emotions and that event or circumstance arising out of your thoughts about that event or circumstance, emerging from your truth about that event or circumstance, produced by the data that you hold about that event or circumstance, which data can, upon your decision, be expanded at any time to include the awareness of the soul. With such an expansion of the mind's data, you become instantly clear that nothing can be forced upon you ever, and that how you are experiencing life is how you choose to. You can peer down the throat of the lion without fear or recoil at the sight of a spider. You can walk the ledge without trembling, or you can shrink from walking out of your own house. The choice is yours. It always has been yours. The world can do things to you, but it cannot extract things from you that you do not choose to give. A steady focus on the only thing that matters, using powerful tools such as gratitude and recontextualization, places you in the space of royalty as the sovereign of your own kingdom. Your kingdom has come. Your will is being done on earth, which is part of heaven. Has it not been written, ye are gods? End of chapter.
Good job. I didn't know if you'd make it to that.
Yeah, we even have like 5.
Yeah, no, you did a good job. We've only got a few minutes left, but does anybody have anything they want to say that will only take about 30 seconds so other people can have time? Go ahead, Mirko.
My consideration is that this chapter is a description of another great truth in Conversation with God, that is that every act is an act of love, because also fear and other emotions are based on love, as Neale explained. Sometimes it is a distorted form of love, as we discussed in past meetings. But when you understand that all that you do and other people do is based on their love of something, an idea, a concept, I think that is very helpful to act with love, even if you disagree with other people. You can understand and you can behave in a different way. And I think to finish that, if we are able to project a loving energy in every circumstance, also in negative circumstance, we can alter the circumstance. Many people do with prayers, with other methods. I think that this tool of recontextualization, that is give another meaning to what is happening, is very powerful with gratitude, because you realize that every act is an act of love. This is my consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Dima or Romy or Ariana or Mary or Linda?
Well, I just, recontextualization, it's a big word. Oh my goodness, my big dog is just like going crazy here. But we do it all the time. We just don't realize it. And we don't do it for the things that, for the things where it's really the most helpful. But there's always another way to look at things, always. And if we just remind ourselves that there's another way to look at this, it's a start, right? We had a little thing happen in our town lately where somebody that worked for the city ended up resigning, and they made a big stink, and they tried to, make it about other people and corruption and all of this. And I happened to be in a meeting where someone was mentioning that and saying, oh, but she's so wonderful, and how could that possibly be? And that's terrible. And I just reminded them, hey, there is a new city manager, and something that happens a lot when city managers come in, new ones, is that people resign. Yeah. And it had never occurred to him. He was so stuck on how he liked her and he didn't want her to be gone that he wasn't at all considering another point of view. And so, it's a big word, but every time you're faced with something you don't like and are unhappy about it, you should be able to stop and think yourself into a new state of mind. Because that's all it is, right? It's all a state of mind. Over.
I want to add something real quick here. About 40 years ago, if you can believe that I'm even 40. I know I don't look it. Anyway, a very dear friend of mine's sister was murdered. And when I got the news, I was standing at the sink. There was a window above the sink. And we didn't have a dishwasher. And I was washing dishes. And I was sitting there thinking about, oh my God, I hate doing dishes, blah, 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 blah. And then I get this news. And as soon as I got off the phone, I was in such shock that I wasn't in that tearful mode yet. But I remember looking into that dishwater with my hands in the goop of dirty dishes. And I said, I'm grateful that I can do the dishes. And it changed the way I looked at a lot of things in my life. that I didn't like to do. Now, I don't have this down to a fine art because sometimes I forget that. But that message has never left my brain, and not grateful that this young woman was killed, but I was grateful that I was able to walk away with something recontextualizing over. And I think because of the time, and I know Linda's got to run, and I would like to talk about this next week, what we just read, but I'd also like to talk about possibly changing the time to an hour earlier, only because I hate it when Linda has to run, but I think it would be helpful for people who are in Europe.
Nanette, is it possible only half an hour or 15 minutes? Because I have already won something before.
Well, it's just an idea that I'm floating out there, Romy. Because I've noticed that two people that have been coming to this group for years have suddenly stopped coming. And I think it's because of the time of day. One is.
But why don't you wait? Because there is a time change in the end of this month. Why don't you hold it still, this time change? Because if you change it now and then the time change from winter, we have the time change, we go back to summer, to winter time and to, and I think it's all affecting all also.
I think that's a very, very good idea because it can become very confusing.
Yeah, because now you're going to change it, then the time change, and then and so when you start in the beginning of November with a new time, I think would be a great one. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with this.
Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Also, I want to say, I mean, I could do an hour earlier, and I would do an hour earlier, but I mean, it's my Sunday, it's my day of rest. That's all. I'm kind of rushing to get here as it is, just because I don't like to have to. Anyway, that's all. Half an hour would be better for me too. But, I will make it work no matter because I love
you love us.
I love us. I love us so much.
That's right. Well, would you like to do a...
Yes, I will say more than I love us, but that's the gist of it all, right? I also want to say, I really love this recontextualization, having the word for the process. I've always sort of, at least for a long time, considered myself an expert at finding the gift, right? Every challenge comes with a gift. And that's sort of what I have considered my job to be. Look at my challenge and find the gift. And it's also my job with other people, as much as can be done without being rude. It's like, is there anything out of this experience that might have a positive edge? You have to be considerate, but this recontextualization, I mean, yeah, it has to go with gratitude. I don't want to say anything bad about gratitude, but I've known about gratitude for a long time. Having words for the recontextualization is sort of radical for me right now, because there have been areas of my life where I've been dissatisfied. And that idea, and like Mirko says, how is this contributing to my soul's agenda or whatever? These are great ways of looking at things, like which me, like this experience, sort of which aspect of me, my divine self, do I want to bring here? It's a great question. It's all about the opportunity and the gift, right? Which aspect of myself can I express to make this a gift instead of a burden? Yeah. And I have been one in life in the past who has made things a burden a lot. And gratitude is definitely a big tool, and recontextualization, I think we can all agree that this week, as we're going about our business, working to express the love that we are in every moment, the easy ones and the challenging ones, having this word, this concrete tool, you know, how can I recontextualize this? I think it will just really do what it's supposed to do, help us all to become that highest expression of this love that we are. And here we are in this group where it's so easy to express that because we're in a group of people who all get it and we're all trying to do the same. So as we go into the week, we can take that energy with us and we can all be supporting each other, even when we're not in the same space, because we're all energy, we're all up here in the ether together, and we're all contributing to this love that we're bringing out into the world. Thank you all. Thank you for letting me be here.
You.
Yep, thank you. And I want to just add one more thing to this. I don't know about you all, but I think about all of you at least once a week, if not once a day. And it's maybe just a passing moment. And it is one of my greatest joys to have this group. And I really appreciate all of you. I really do. Love you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Okay.
Same time.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.